Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy.
And today we are going to be exploring the world of dangerous animals.
Yeah.
Which is...
I really considered doing an Australian accent, but I decided that would not go well.
Maybe it'll come up later.
It might come up later.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just can't hold it in.
Yeah. I wonder what my Australian accent
Yeah, I don't know what mine
actually is.
I don't know what mine is either.
You know,
That's why I hesitated.
Maybe a little more British, maybe a little more, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to offend our Australian fans either.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dangerous Animals follows Zephyr.
Hit us with a description,
That's
Jeremy.
right. Zephyr is a fiercely independent surfer girl who is in Australia to surf big waves and be as far from her home as possible. She meets Moses, and their quick fling has her feeling a bit more optimistic about things. But that's right when she's kidnapped by Tucker.
Terrible timing.
Tucker's a bit of a local legend as a shark attack survivor when he was a child. Now he takes tourists out to swim with the sharks in shark cages. At least that's his day job. But his real passion is his hobby.
Yeah.
Which is kidnapping young ladies so that he can film them being slowly lowered into the water as shark food.
Yeah.
Now Zephyr is set to be his next victim unless she could find a way out.
Incredible, Jeremy. Incredible.
Andy.
Yeah.
Was Dangerous Animals good?
Yeah. Dangerous Animals is awesome. I might go see it 4 more times. I love Shudder, like these Shudder movies that Donna, it flashes like that's the studio. It's always a win. They did like Late Night with the Devil, In a Violent Nature. It's just like, I feel like I'm in good hands. This movie is, I don't know, it's probably terrible. I had a blast watching this movie. Give Jai Courtney an Oscar. Yes.
I knew
you knew.
I knew that this is an Andy movie
Dude,
through
this
and
movie's
through.
awesome.
Just everything about it.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed it. I said this is a solid B movie. It's what it's going for and it's what it is.
Yeah, why don't they make more movies like this?
My next line was, probably could have been better, but also could have easily been a lot worse.
Yeah, it definitely could have been better. I'll get into some complaints, but yeah. The fact that this was good or entertaining or whatever word you want to use, that's the win right there.
Yeah, I told someone before I went to go see it, because I was telling one of my friends I'm going to see this movie called Dangerous Animals. They hadn't heard of it, of course.
Yeah.
And I said, it's either going to be really bad or a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of movie. Yeah. Even though it's a horror movie, and it's weird to say horror movie, a lot of fun, but like that's the setup.
Is a ton of fun.
And it is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can get into a little more. I'll go ahead and let's do the spoiler alert on this one right off the bat.
Yeah, it's really hard to talk about this movie without.
Yeah, this one is one you don't want to. There are things to spoil, and we don't want to spoil anything.
Go watch this movie.
So it's a fun movie. It's a great.
I always say, like, this is the kind of movie you want to get some popcorn for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one note I do have is this is only like a 90-minute movie.
Mm-hmm.
It did feel like a 60-minute movie would have been perfect.
Yes.
That had to
That's
be 90.
one of my biggest notes is they can't quite figure out how and when to land the plane. Yeah. But listen, any complaint I have is just minor.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just nitpicky because I had a blast. Yeah. But yeah, they just didn't quite know when to be like, we're done.
And the reason is it's a just wonderfully simple story.
It's a
like
great
they
idea.
don't overcomplicate it.
And they don't. The only thing, like I said, is you can see it a couple of places where it's like we have to stretch this into a feature-length film, and if they didn't have that pressure, I think it would have been like a really tight, really fantastic 70
minutes, 60,
70, 75 minutes.
And getting to 90 was like we got to draw some of these things out a little more.
Yeah.
Because like the simplicity doesn't demand so much to happen. It's a classic story of a girl gets kidnapped and this guy is going to kill her and she's got to escape. There's only so much that can happen in that.
It is, and they go wrong a couple times, which we can tackle now or we can tackle later. I don't care.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and tackle it now, Andy.
So here's the thing with movies like this: they're so dependent on what beats they're going to hit,
mm-hmm.
and when the chase hits and all that stuff. When that kicks in. And so then it becomes all about like just the forward momentum. She gets away, but then he catches her. She, usually in these movies, the bad guy either gets stabbed or hit in the head with some kind of instrument or sharp object or blunt object, and it's not enough to kill him. He's going to pop back up. So they do all that, but they're very clunky with how they do it, and they just throw in some scenes that are. I didn't look. Was this a first time writer and director? Do you know?
It was a first time writer.
Okay.
It was a director who hasn't done much, and this was his first film he's done in 10 years.
Okay. So you kind of notice just some of the clunkiness. Like, so she. Let me think. I want to get this right. Okay. So she incapacitates him for a minute. She jumps off the boat. She's trying to swim to some kind of little island or something, and then he hops off the boat onto some like little jet ski type or boat attachment.
Yeah.
And he just catches her and brings her back. And it was like, well, that was weird and kind of led to nothing. And then where it showed the most is once he has met his demise, she shoots him with a harpoon, and then she gets tangled up in the harpoon like wire, and it drags her out to sea. And then like it just kind of awkwardly lingers on Moses, and you're just like, what is happening right now? And then she pops up, and then she's just back on the boat. And it was like, that was so clearly just, we have to add 3 or 4 more minutes to this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very clunky.
Yeah. So I thought the opening of the movie was really good.
Opening was awesome. Other than that girl not being a good actress at all. Not the main girl, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that more in a minute. But like Jai Courtney, you're right. He does a great job in this.
He is all in.
And you know what? Like, let's go ahead and have a little bit of a Jai Courtney conversation here, because people
They've been trying to make him a thing for a while.
Well, I was gonna say about 10 years ago was when it was really like they were really pushing him. Yeah. So he was the bad guy in the first Jack Reacher. Yeah. That's the first thing that I saw him in. Mm-hmm. He was in A Good Day to Die Hard, played Bruce Willis's son. That was like a notoriously horrible.
That was just
movie.
Terrible. I don't even blame him for that. That movie's just terrible.
No, he was in Terminator Genesis, playing
that's
like a
turd. He's Kyle Reese.
He's Kyle Reese. That's what it is.
It's a bad movie.
And like all these movies, the same thing that people kind of had about it is like, this guy's just really bland. That's what they said. Like, okay, he's kind of got a look, but he's just really bland. He's kind of just, he's Wonder Bread.
He's generic.
Yeah. And then Suicide Squad was the movie I actually
thought
might
a little
redeem
personality.
He got to show some personality. And here's my big note. It really helps when you let Australian actors be Australian.
That is the biggest thing in this movie, is he is just so Australian.
Yeah. So like, you kind of get like, oh, you realize in all those earlier movies, like he's trying to play an American and like doing an American accent, and it's
just let this dude cook.
Yeah,
let this guy be himself, because this is where he's awesome.
Obviously, we already love Hemsworth, but like it's kind of like Hemsworth and Furiosa getting to be the villain and getting to be Australian still.
Yep.
So yeah, he got to like show that a little bit in Suicide Squad, where I thought this guy's not boring in this movie, but the movie just didn't work, and so it totally like ruined his chance to like rehabilitate.
Mm-hmm. And part of me, I do feel for the guy, because, now that we know that those movies suck, but in the moment you can see why he'd want to be in a Die Hard movie and a Terminator movie.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense. It just happened to be that those movies sucked.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't fault him for being like, there's kind of rumblings about how I could maybe go to that next level. So I'll be in the next Die Hard movie. I mean, and it just happened to be he's in some of the worst of those franchises.
It's not entirely different from like Glenn Powell being like, I'm in a Top Gun movie and a Twisters movie.
It just happens. Those movies are good. Yeah. So I mean, I don't place the blame all on him.
Yeah. So just this year, he was in a show on Netflix called American Primeval, which I thought was a pretty solid show.
I haven't seen it, but I know what it is. Yeah.
And then he was in this movie, and I was like, is this gonna be like is this gonna be the redemption year for him? Now, I don't know, because those might have been just a little too small projects for like a full on redemption. It might just be like a the real nerds like us kind of pick up on it.
Maybe, but
yeah, I just thought he was really good at this, and
he's so good.
So that first scene, you kind of have to have like, you want him to be that villain who's like got a charm to him, even though he's gonna be the crazy killer, and you know that. So that first scene when
they're saying Baby Shark,
when he goes like, I figured out this method to like help you calm down, and they hold hands and like they're quiet, and then he goes like, and you're like, what is he about to chant? And he's like, Baby Shark.
That was just phenomenal.
Like, it's hilarious, and they're like doing it. It's making the girl laugh.
That was really good.
And then the they're in the cages and you're, what's going to happen? What's he going to do? And it's not until he's pulling them out. And then all of a sudden, boom, menacing. He just stabs the guy quick in the neck a couple times. And it just
pushes him off.
Yeah.
And then he just does the bad guy, like, glance to the camera.
Yeah.
And you're like, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. I was into this movie. That's what, the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got me. Yep. And then when John Courtney just ascends to the next level is when he's just dancing around in his underwear. And that's when and I'm being sarcastic, but not really, because that's when you know that he gets it.
Yeah.
He's like, I know exactly what this part is. I'm not winning an Oscar. I'm here to chew the scenery and just be over the top. And at one point, he's like dancing and his eyes are kind of like rolled upwards a little bit. And you're just like, yeah, this guy gets it.
Yeah. It really does seem like a thing. Like, movies love to have like a random like characters dancing sequence.
It's not original.
And also, it's obviously not nearly as weird or traumatizing, but it's a little bit of the Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Like, my villain character is going to dance
There's
around.
much less tucking in this. We'll just say that.
That's a perfect way to put it, Andy. Thank you.
Quickly move on.
But
yeah. And it's like, no, it's not original. And there's, of course, no reason for him to be doing this. We already know he's crazy, but when it works, it works.
Yeah.
And it works because the actor has to be all in. And he is all in.
Yes. He also just has a great look for the part.
He has an awesome physicality in this movie.
He does. He's a big, strong dude that you buy and like.
You know what he kind of gave me?
What?
I'm not saying quality wise, but like Tom Hardy vibes.
Yeah.
Just this like stout, jacked, like kind of pudgy in a way. Not that's not really Tom Hardy, but just like when he's fighting Moses, he looks like he's 4 times like thicker and stronger than Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got that kind of curly but crazy hair, the beard, like everything about him. He's the most somebody's looked like a fisherman for real in a movie since Quint and Jaws.
Right.
Like it almost, I felt like probably had to have a little homage. Like I want to, the little bit of unshaven, crazy facial hair and curls like Quint.
And you got to balance like he's charming, but he's like he nails it, man. Like he's awesome in this movie.
He is, and it also does. There is little bits of real acting in this movie because he's, for the most part, in the movie, he's really confident because you're in his plan and he's under control. Yeah. But you do get the moments of like unraveling, like when she throws away his camera and he's like scrambling to try to find the new camera.
He does a good job.
All of a sudden, he's a little more like temperamental and testy, and there's
a scene where she says she's just ripping him a new one. And she says something like, you do this because your mom didn't give you enough hugs or something. And he kind of has to like portray like, ooh, that stung a little bit. And I thought he did a really good job there.
Yeah, because he's got to portray the bad guys like it is getting to him a little, but he's got to fight through it and not let it show that's going to get to him. Did a good job. Yeah, did a good job. Hassie Harrison is the girl who plays Zephyr.
Hassie.
The whole movie, I was like, I know this girl from somewhere. What is she in? I couldn't place
She's discount Jennifer Lawrence. She looks and sounds just like Jennifer Lawrence, I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But also, I did know her from the show Yellowstone. She's got a small part in that, and I was like, oh, yeah, that makes it. Like, as soon as I read that, I was like, yes, of course, she's the girl from...
FYI, I did not mean that as an insult. I think she's good in this movie.
Yeah. And that was my note. I thought she was good. I thought she also fit the part very well.
Great.
Like, she obviously
is a
lovely young
rebellious
lady,
surfer.
But yeah, I believe that she had that toughness to her.
I bought it completely.
Yeah. This is a movie that definitely does the thing we talk about where like its characters are smart.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like if I have a complaint, it's probably that the characters are almost a little too smart. I mean, the fact that Moses finds her is like almost unbelievable.
Yeah,
but
this guy does not cover his tracks real well.
There's not any of that. Usually in horror movies, it's like, oh, why didn't they just see or notice that? And this one, it's like, how did he see and notice that?
Yeah.
But it's fine because it keeps the movie going and it added, like we said, if he didn't show up at all, they would have an even harder time dragging this out to 90 minutes. It needed all of the stuff that he did.
It needed them, yeah. But I'd say that's how you kind of know that this movie is working. Because if the movie's not working and then he finds her as easily as he did, it just gives you another reason to kind of roll your eyes. And like you said, in this one, I was like, you know what? Fine, because we need this movie to keep going. It didn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Moses was played by Josh Houston, I guess is how I'm going to pronounce that. He's not been anything that I've seen before. He is an Australian actor,
Yeah.
so good for him getting to be Australian again in the movie. I thought he did fine in the movie.
Did too. Like, what's his job in this movie? Just to kind of be charming and have us some chemistry with our main girl, and he does it.
Yeah, I did. This is gonna sound like a weird note. He's weirdly built for kind of having like a really pretty boy face.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of got a boy band member face.
Yeah.
It's like this guy. He's a really pretty guy. And then like he takes his shirt off and he's like jacked. And like, shredded, okay, dude is like strong. So when he was fighting Jai Courtney, it's like you believe that he could actually fight him. Some like Jai Courtney's. Like he said, he's kind of got more the big burly middle-aged man build. Yeah. And Moses.
Yeah, but that was a good scene when they were fighting with each other.
But it was just like it just kind of blew my mind. It's like it just doesn't fit this guy's face. This really like narrow, skinny, like pretty face.
Right.
And then he's
and they have him like in the white, like not sleeveless, but like not full length shirt and a tie.
She asks if he's a
Mormon.
Like, Mormon, yeah.
But he has a couple little moments where he kind of has to act too. Like he goes to the police station to report her missing, and he's like, he knows he's like, I don't know her last name. Like, I thought he did a pretty good job with that stuff. Where he's like trying to tell this cop like, she's missing. I have a connection with her, but I just met her yesterday and we hooked up. But he's sincere about it. So like, again, I'm not saying it's like, give this guy an Oscar, but he has to act a little bit.
Yeah, and without saying it, I thought the movie did a good job because someone might ask, like, why is he obsessing over this? Like, just a girl he met yesterday. I think there is obviously the part of, like, we had a connection and I immediately, like, am infatuated with this girl. Yeah. But I think there's also the element of, like, he sent her to that spot of where to surf.
Little guilt.
When he thinks that there's an accident, it's like, this happened. So he's also driven by guilt of, like, this is on me. Yeah. And so
this is one of those movies that's kind of clever, like a little more intelligent than you might give it credit for. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think they're really smart with, like, they give her backstory, but we don't have to get drugged down in like like you learn she's been in juvie and foster care. Mm-hmm. So you're like, okay, that's cool. That's all the character notes I need for her. You don't get a scene where she just pours her heart out for like 10 minutes explaining exactly what happened and it's like, what you need to know. Mm-hmm. It's good enough.
Yeah. And then, because it's a very small casted movie.
Tiny cast.
The only other one I noted was Ella Newton, who played Heather, which is the other girl victim who's not been anything I've seen. And you already stated that you believe that she was terrible in this movie.
She's terrible in the beginning. Okay. I thought she does okay when he actually, like, lowers her. And she's doing, like, the whole, like, I'm never going to see my mom again. Yeah. At the beginning, she's trying to do, like nervous acting. Yeah. And I just didn't. She wasn't very good at it.
Fair enough. My note was just, I thought she did a good job of being the scared victim, which is the stuff you're talking about.
I guess she did what she needed to do. There was just a couple of times I was just like, oh, that's kind of low rent. It's a very B movie, but
fair enough.
But I did like the beat of this movie where when they're both, before he lowers her to be mauled by sharks, they're both handcuffed to a bed and they just like, They act like people would act, I feel like, in that situation. And, like, I thought that was well done.
Yeah, I do too. So let's talk about it, because the scene of Heather being lowered to the sharks while Zephyr is tied up and having to watch, that's just a really solid horror movie scene.
It's
like,
great.
That is, I imagine...
They came up with such a great premise for this movie.
And I imagine that's the scene that it was all built around. Like, the people who made this movie, like, they're like...
Here's this
serial killer.
Now we're building around
this is what he
scene.
does, and it's the thing is, it's the only scene that does actually kind of play out all the way through as a horror scene, because from that point on, you kind of know, like, once it's Zephyr's kidnapped and it's this other girl, you kind of know, like, the other girl's not going to make it.
Right.
Zephyr is going to make it. And
then it's like more of like, not horror, but like cat and mouse.
It's just
survivalist.
How is she going to get up? Yeah.
Yep. No, that's very horror movie.
So in that movie, it is, just everything. The night, the spotlight on it,
him just taunting the whole time.
She's like, she has free movement, but she's just on this harness. She can't get out of it. And she's being slowly lowered, and you see the sharks circling because he's put chum in the water, and it's just, it is. And I thought they played it the perfect length of time, because it doesn't, like, they could have drawn it out and made it like
So
for the sake of awkward. If it was a Saw movie or something, they would have really drawn it out.
that's what I was gonna say. The best thing about this movie is it's not one of these, like we talk about all the time. It's not one of these mean-spirited, like disgusting, nasty, I hate the world horror movies. It's supposed to be fun. Now there is, this is not fun, this scene, but that's not what the whole movie is like. And it doesn't show like half her leg gone with a bone sticking out.
And that's the thing I want to give this movie like credit for. And perhaps some of it is budgetary restraints where maybe
sure
they
it
couldn't
is.
get to. But
I'm sure this movie had like a $2 million budget.
He stops her in the water at waist height because he films them. Like that's his thing. Like he gets the camera and he films them for the reaction. And the sharks swarm and there's the commotion. You just see like the thrashing in the water and her screaming.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like
And then it does like an aerial view and you can see like her leg.
Yeah.
But it's not, I mean, Jaws is way more violent than this.
Yes.
And then you see like from here up, like just floating in the water, but it's not meant to be like, look how like realistic and gross this is.
I know. Like when we were getting the scene, I was half worried that it was going to be like he dips her down and you get the first bite and then he pulls her out and we have to see like all the damage and she's just
Guts are
screaming
hanging out.
and then back and up and back and like
No.
thank
They
goodness
handle it perfectly.
It's just a quick swarming, screaming, and then it's over pretty quick.
Yep, they handle it perfectly.
Yeah, I thought it was like an A+ horror movie scene.
Yep, I did too.
Yeah,
Really well done. No notes.
yeah. So, like I said, we have the setup of those two girls, and then we know it's just down to Zephyr, and it's kind of like, okay, I don't know what point we are in the movie at that point, halfway through,
I would
or something
say,
like that.
yeah.
And my thought was like, I don't know if this is even right or not. I don't know if it's morbid to say or not. It's like, did we almost need like more victims in this movie?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it would have made sense to keep returning to that well, and maybe the scene like loses effect each time you see it.
I think they played it smart. They show all the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
So he's like, this dude's been doing this for a long time.
Right. It's just like, to me, the whole movie was good, but that scene is like
It's so
elevated
good.
above the rest that it's almost a shame that it just could happen once.
Yeah.
And I feel morbid saying that, but
No, you're right.
Yeah.
But I think my guess would be it's a budget thing.
yeah.
That would be my guess.
Yeah. And again, I think if it did it 3 times, by the third time you'd be like, I get it. This is
get
what
it, yeah.
happens. But
Yeah. You know what else I give such a high praise to this movie for? No crappy, awful looking CGI sharks.
yeah.
Like maybe they are CGI. I don't know. I mean, I guess they have to be in some extent, but they don't like. They do a lot. You can tell they do a lot of actual shark footage. Like I'm almost positive. Like that's something that happens so often in these just low rent, crappy shark movies. Is you're like, this looks so terrible. I thought they avoided that really well.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about this. For being a shark movie,
There's not a lot of
it's
shark.
not a very shark movie.
Yeah, I guess it's not a shark movie. It's really a Jai Courtney is crazy movie,
it's a
but
serial killer movie who happens to use
sharks,
as
yeah.
but yeah, like I mean, it is a shark movie. I mean, the poster, which is a great poster, is the boat
cool
going
poster.
away, and the wake is red from blood, but
Yeah.
it's making a shark fin.
Yeah.
It's a cool design poster. It is meant to get audiences in as a shark violence movie, and of course, it's a clever name, Dangerous Animals, because it's got the double meaning of like, oh, talking about the sharks that feed, but he's actually the most dangerous animal.
Exactly.
Yeah. So being a shark movie that doesn't have a ton of sharks,
that benefited the movie though.
That's usually because that's usually where you get your bad CGIs, where it's like we've got to make the shark the scary thing, so we got to show how it moves, like so aggressive and stuff.
They don't do
and
any of
because
that.
they're not worried about making the shark scary.
Yeah.
They don't have to give you that footage. It's
correct. And that
Yeah.
really benefited the movie.
It did.
The
for
only
sure.
time they really try to shine a light on a shark, as they should, is when we are well into spoilers, but when it gets Jai Courtney.
Yeah.
It kind of has to leap out of
And
the
it, like,
water.
slow-mo
But when you
shot,
are
yeah.
the big over-the-top villain, you have to have a big over-the-top death. And I actually thought they could have gone even... I thought it'd show him like getting ripped to shreds. I'm glad it didn't.
Could have given him a Quint level death. 'Cause
Yeah.
talk about-
Which is the gold
Yeah.
standard. But yeah, they handled it right. It was big and dramatic and stuff, but it didn't shine any light on this, on the low budget of this movie.
Yeah.
So
One of my criticisms of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of goes along with the like Moses finding her too easily thing,
Sure.
but he could have been a more interesting character other than like the perfect guy,
yeah,
and he really is like the perfect guy in this movie. From like,
Yeah, he goes
everything
and makes her
he's-
like the greatest looking breakfast
Yes.
of all time.
everything he says is perfect. It's always the
know.
response, everything.
I
And then she's
know.
gone. He's like, I had to go find her.
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
even, then he's captured too. And he's like, well, my rescue plan didn't work. It's
Some
like he's
hero
being all
I turned out
charming.
to
Yeah, and
be.
it's like, dude, just freak out for a minute here.
Yeah.
What the heck? Oh, crap. Now I'm here too.
Yeah.
Like, made him
Oh,
a little
yeah,
too
for sure.
perfect. But, trivial thing, but we're talking about complaints. So I'm going to throw it out
No,
there.
I agree with you completely. And I agree with you too. Everything I'm going to say that's negative about this movie is trivial. But yeah, you're exactly right. And it's a little bit of a thankless part for the last half of the movie because he just has to sit there having been stabbed.
Yeah. And then I did think I didn't love that I felt like they had an unwillingness to kill Moses because they really wanted a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it made the movie drag a little bit that he couldn't die either, because then, like I said, half the movie's left and Zephyr's probably not going to die.
She's not
unless
gonna
it's
die.
like a dramatic twist at
Yeah.
the end. But she got to make it to the end. So it's like, well, what else? Who else can die? Well, his neighbor does, whatever.
Yeah.
I did think that was a great moment where he kills the neighbor and then looks over at the dog that was always yapping at him, and he just yaps at the dog until the dog runs away.
I could not
He's like
believe
a crazy man.
I thought for sure he was going to be getting ready to kill Zephyr. Zap? What's her name?
Zephyr.
And that dog was going to bark and he was going to look over and distract him and then she would kill him. I really thought the dog would factor in.
I thought for sure we were going to get a scene of him throwing the dog to the sharks.
Oh my
but
gosh.
I was
People
like,
would have freaked out.
it's very telling about audiences that they're like, we can't have him kill a dog.
No, he
Like,
can slowly lower a poor innocent girl into the water to be ripped in half by a shark, but no dog.
Exactly.
No, this is all, you're 100% right. Everything we're complaining about is just, this did not need to be an hour and 40-minute long movie.
Yeah. So Moses does survive a lot to not die. He gets the hook in the back and pulled by it.
Dude, everyone can.
He gets stabbed several times in the body.
Like at least 4 or 5 times, I would
Yeah.
say. And I mean, everyone's pretty tough in this movie. She chews off her own thumb and is just fine.
So what I loved about that part is while she's trying to get her hand out of the handcuffs, I had the thought in my mind, like, you put yourself in the situation. You're like, do you try the classic, like, break your own thumb move? Like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't even know if it works. And she breaks her own thumb. It's like, oh, she did it. Like, she actually did the thing. I'm sitting there thinking, like, would you do it? Should you do it? And then it still doesn't work. And I loved that little twist. Of like,
because I was literally sitting there thinking, this is the second movie this year where someone's broken their thumb and got out of handcuffs. Jack Quaid did it in Novocaine.
But because it's exactly the thing that a normal person would do, because every normal person's seen someone do it in the movies, but you don't actually know if it works.
And it
so
doesn't.
like she tries it and then it not working is like perfect. And then she's like fully commits and bites her thumb off so that she can get the
Again, though, I will give this movie credit. It doesn't go, it's not disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't show, like, her, you know what I mean? Like, you know what she's doing, and you see her thumb laying there, but they do manage to do it in a way where you're not like, okay, this is just gross. And she looks at Moses, who's, like, passed out, and she's like, it's a good thing you can't see this.
Yeah.
So it's like they even throw in a little bit of humor. And it's like the tone is something we talk about a lot on this podcast. The tone of this movie is great.
Yeah, it's spot on.
Spot on.
It's definitely not too traumatic of a biting scene after having seen Bring Her Back.
No,
Much
everything
more traumatic biting scenes than that one.
everything is a step down from that. But no, they handle that well too. And it's satisfying. Like, these movies are built upon, like, you want to see the bad guy get the tables turned on him. So when he goes in to get her and he pulls that sheet back and it's just her thumb and he's got to look panicked and stuff, you're like, that's why I'm here for this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's multiple scenes of her almost escaping and in every one of those, I don't ever feel it's because she does something dumb that makes you go like,
you're never like, you idiot. I mean, like, at least twice in this movie, if not more, she immediately jumps off the boat. Mm-hmm. You're like, thank you. She's not just sitting. Yeah, like that goes back to my complaint though. They needed to combine that into one.
Yeah.
And not try and drag out the runtime.
Yeah.
But again, minor picks.
Yeah. The only complaint I had was the first time she tries to escape, she's running away, and every door she passes, I'm like, close the door and try to seal him behind you so you can have a little more time. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't. But the second time she tries to escape, she does. And so I'm like, okay, so like,
yeah, she's smart.
There's never something that they leave on the table. And I'm like, why didn't you just
Nope.
that.
I think the only time this ever happened in this movie, and it was actually with Jai Courtney, like after he kidnaps her, and then Moses calls her phone, and like it's like he would have taken her phone. If he's been doing this for years, or for a long time, he would have taken her cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a minor complaint, but it did disappoint me a little. The final quip, right before she gets him.
Oh.
Ooby dooby mother effer. I'm like, I get it. It's a reference to the song where they talk about the meaning, but I'm like, you could have really nailed it with something there.
I can't help but wonder if that actress was reading the script and she was like, do I have to say this?
Yeah.
Like, can I say literally anything else? The only thing I'll say, yes, it's bad. The only thing I'll say is by that point, I'm already so bought into this movie. Right. It's going to take way more than that to undo that, but that's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. I don't care if you get Bruce Willis, John McClane mixed with Clint Eastwood combined with Tom Hardy to say that line. It's not going to be cool.
No, it's not.
It was rough, but like I said, I was so bought in at this point because it's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So she harpoons him, and he falls into the water
and gets attacked by a shark.
The shark who didn't attack.
Just immediately attacks him. Of course, it's all ridiculous. Yeah. Now, I will say, they have that scene, she's under the water and the shark swims up to her. I thought that was like, I don't know, like if there was a lot of meaning behind it, but it was like, it kind of lingered on that shark. I do think this movie's like supporting the theory of like sharks are not the bad guys.
Yes, for sure. They were
it's
trying
definitely
to
wanting you to be like, look at this beautiful creature. And it even showed that shark that had the shark had like a scar on its side. And it's like, they're not so whatever. A little preachy, but.
Yeah. I mean, in the reality is even Jai Courtney says that about them. He's
the sharks just do what they do, or whatever he says.
Well, when he's talking about when he got attacked as a kid, he's like,
it's like, that was my fault.
He's like, yeah, they just think you're silly. They don't really want to eat humans. Yeah. And like, that's why he let me go when he realized I wasn't what he wanted to eat, so it's for being a scary movie about sharks. It's very pro shark.
Pro shark. Yeah, definitely pro shark.
And not even in the way like, what was the movie that came out like a year ago, like Under Paris or something. Yes. That was kind of a bad shark movie, but it was making fun of people who were like supportive of sharks because they're like, sharks aren't bad. And the girl like goes in the water to prove it. And the shark immediately annihilates her. Yeah.
I will say too, speaking of the sharks, I did like the character beats too, like, because these people are surfers. They do know a little bit about sharks. Like when he lowers Moses into the water, she's like, don't move.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a good job of like, I'm scared to death, but I am trying really hard not to move.
Yeah. And, it makes sense. Like, too bad she didn't think of that with the girl who went first. But also, like, when you're going through the traumatic thing at first, like, she's freaking out too. Like, but by the second time, she calmed down a little bit and she's thought about it.
It was
so.
Yeah.
Another moment that was like thank goodness the character did it is, I say this full disclosure, I could not pull this off. But when they were lowering him, and I'm like, he's a strong athletic dude. I'm like, why is nobody trying to pull themselves up
and
the
she
harness?
Does.
And then she does later. Now she also has the help of the hook that helps her pull up, but she does pull herself up. And I'm like, thank you. I've been waiting for someone to try it at least.
You know what she wasn't counting on though? She wasn't counting on Jai Courtney going boo and then making her fall right back in the water. Really impressive that she did that too after gnawing her own thumb off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just being sarcastic. It was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You're like, dude, try and climb back up this pole. Do whatever you have to do. And she does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Look, you give me a movie where there's a bad guy and a good guy and they're both smart, like 8 times out of 10, I'm going to like that movie.
Yeah. And give us a scene that's memorable. I mean, I guarantee we get to the end of this year, there's a lot of movies I see that I'll be like, that was a good movie. And by the end of the year, I kind of just forget it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to remember that scene of
dude,
the girl being lowered into the...
maybe, you know what? I kind of feel bad now. I was a little harsh on that actress.
No, you're probably right. I mean, she probably isn't...
I thought she did a really good job in that part. She just was so awkward at the beginning. That's all
I do think it's kind of the horror movie trope.
You're right.
Like for
You're right.
For the girls to be a little...
I came in a little hot. I will retract my statement.
I mean, she's
not
an actress.
Awful.
I don't know if we'll ever see her again. We might not.
Right.
But she's the type of actress that like I'd reserve judgment for whatever I see her in next to inform like was she doing the thing? You know, like
Yep.
playing that kind of typical,
Right.
ridiculous damsel in distress who's you're supposed to just think she's kind of pitiful at every turn.
That's fair.
So that
I retract my hot
no,
take.
I mean like
Is it
Keep it.
ridiculous to say that at the end of the year, this performance from Jai Courtney may be one of our favorites?
no,
I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
It's got some
I don't.
things in
I'm not saying
common.
the best, but
Yeah.
just like if you ask me what my favorite performance of the year is, he's in the conversation.
For sure. I mean, it's, you know, calls mine like maybe a David Desmalkian from Late Night with the
Absolutely.
Devil, where it's like, hey, this is a movie that's not going to get recognized, but we love the performance. Or even like we talked about Chris Hemsworth and Furiosa, where it's somebody just going like, you can tell they're having a blast
Yes.
playing a villain and just doing it up big. And yeah, he's doing that.
Kudos to him. I really want to come back and see this movie now after we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's a good one. Unfortunately, like not lasting very long in theaters.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about its reception. Critics have given it an 84%, which I think is a great score for a movie like this.
That's a great. They should be
Again,
so happy with that.
This is like, it is a B movie in every sense of the word. Like it's
and
very,
they know it though.
yeah,
That's the thing.
It is a $5 movie or $5 million movie. Like that is about as low budget as theater movies get.
About as you can get, low as you can get anymore.
And then, you know, audiences are giving it 74. I'm shocked that audiences are lower. The only thing I can guess is that audiences wanted it to be a little more Jaws than but I don't know.
Scores like that confuse me so bad because you want to sit down with people and go, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Like, what did you think was going to happen? So I don't know.
Yeah. Gross worldwide right now is about 3.3 million.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
Yeah.
A little disappointing. I feel like this is a movie that I could have seen it finding like its audience and like having a little run and
Like $15-20 million.
and being a little hit.
You know what? I think it'll be fine though, because I think this movie, you know, these Shudder movies, of course, go to Shudder when they're done. I think it'll. Again, I don't know how this works, but like people will watch this movie. I think.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be a big hit or anything like that, but it's like for it to have a decent critic score and for no one to be going, "What a embarrassment this is!" Like I think people will look at this movie fondly. I hope it does. You know, find a little bit of an audience.
Yeah. It's tough for the movie because it's definitely a summer movie. Like
Yeah.
it should be a summer movie. The tough part is it's always hard to be a small movie released in the summer because, like I said, it's not lasting long in theaters, in large part because there's just a lot of movies coming out right now. And so it's getting swept out for theaters to have freaking 80 showings of How to Train Your Dragon, you know? And
That's
a
the
bummer.
frustrating part, where it's like Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon are just dominating, and stuff like this goes forgotten. But man, I want Shudder to keep releasing these movies because I named this and In a Violent Nature and Late Night with the Devil are all three movies I've really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, good movie. We recommend it. If you can still find it in a theater, go see it in a theater. It's a good theater movie.
Immediately. Like, go find this in the theater. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.